mentor Seema Chalani from KYMS Academy, and I welcome you all once again to this platform of learning and knowledge. CAT 24 slot 3 previous year question series is going on, and today we are going to discuss the last RC from the same slot. So let's get started and together we make it happen. An amazing quote by Henry Ford, and it has got a lot of profound meaning. If you think you can do a thing or think you can't do a thing, you are right. So this quote means that one's attitude, one's belief, one's mindset have a profound impact on one's ability to succeed or to fail. Believing in yourself can lead to achievement, and self-doubt can lead to failure. So keep trusting yourself, and remember, don't let the self-doubt overpower your faith. Today's RC is persuasive in tone, and the author is saying that people are being very fussy about the prevention of the contamination of solar system, and they are not prioritizing human exploration, rather they are prioritizing this thing. So author is being little sarcastic also towards the scientist. And why is he being so sarcastic? So let us see now. So I'm going to read the entire passage paragraph by paragraph, and then we come down to the questions and solve them. There is a group in the space community who view the solar system not as an opportunity to expand human potential, but as a nature preserve forever the provenance of an elite group of scientists and their sanitary robotic probes. These planetary protection advocates call for avoiding harmful contamination of celestial bodies. Under this regime, NASA incurs great expense sterilizing robotic probes in order to prevent the contamination of entirely theoretical biospheres. Now, in this paragraph, author is saying that people, they are prioritizing the prevention of contamination of the celestial body, and they are not giving importance to space exploration. And here the author is being also mocking towards the group of scientists. Now the group of scientists say basically they feel that this particular planet is our area, and we cannot let any random people come over here and contaminate our area. So why the author is being sarcastic over here? Because obviously they are the scientists and their job is to explore the space, but actually they are stopping themselves by saying this thing that no, we will not let anybody contaminate our area. Now, and under this thing, what the NASA they are doing, they incur a great expense in order to sterilize the robotic probes. Why? Because they actually want to prevent the contamination of the biosphere, any biosphere which is only hypothetical. Okay. Transporting bacteria would matter if Mars were the vital world once imagined by astronomers who mistook political illusions for canals. Now, if you do not understand this particular thing, it's okay. But in this line, what the author is trying to say, author ये बोल रहा है कि अगर contamination, if it's a matter of concern, then obviously Mars में same conditions होनी चाहिए जो Earth पे हैं. But actually में ऐसा नहीं है, right? Nobody wants to expose Martians to missiles, and obviously nobody would want to harm the Martians also. But sadly, robotic exploration reveals a bleak, rusted landscape, lacking oxygen and flooded with radiation, ready to sterilize any earthly microbes. Now the author is saying that why would anybody harm Martians? Okay, if there is any life on Mars, then obviously even we do not want to harm them. But the sad thing is that even on Mars, there is a lack of oxygen and it is flooded with radiation. तो वहाँ की जो conditions है वो इतनी ज़्यादा extreme और adverse है that it can even sterilize any earthly microbes. तो अगर हम वहाँ पर किसी भी earthly particles वहाँ पर जाता है या microbes वहाँ पर जाता है तो उसको भी sterilize कर देते हैं. तो obviously author ये बोल रहा है that why are you worrying about this thing so much? Okay. Simple life might exist underground or down at the bottom of a deep canyon, but it has been very hard to find with robots. And in this line, author says, in case if there is any life, and that too deep down the canyon, but robots, they could not find any life. So, in short, we can say that author says that there is no sign of life on Mars. So, if there is no life on Mars, then what are we worrying about? I mean, what things we are worrying about? What things are going to get contaminated over here? Or in fact, अगर हम कुछ particle वहाँ पर भेजते भी हैं, तो obviously it is not going to get survived over there because the conditions are very, very extreme. The upsides from human exploration and development of Mars clearly outweigh the welfare of purely speculative Martian fungi. Now, here the author is saying that the benefits of human exploration, they actually outweigh the potential harm to any unknown Martian fungi. Clear? The other likely targets of human exploration, development, and settlement. Our moon and the asteroids exist in a desiccated, radiation-soaked realm of hard vacuum and extreme temperature variations that would kill nearly anything. Now, in this line, author is saying that even the moon and the asteroids, they have extreme adverse conditions, and the conditions are so extreme. Okay, there the temperatures are very, very extreme, that if you send anything over there, okay, any microbe or any earthly particle, it is not going to get survived over there, as the conditions are very, very extreme. It is also important to note that many international competitors will ignore the demands of these protection extremists in any case. Now, in this, we are being so fussy about this thing that we need to protect the solar system from getting contaminated. But are the other countries thinking that way? Of course not. They are not thinking that way. In a way, they are going for the space exploration, okay, but we are cutting our own legs by thinking this way, okay, by thinking on a very minute thing. Okay, so why we are not giving importance to space exploration, and why we are giving importance to the prevention of contamination? And for this thing, author has given us two examples. For example, China recently sent a terrarium to the moon and germinated a plant seed, with unsurprisingly no protest from its own scientific community. So obviously here Chinese, they are sending terrarium. Terrarium is basically a kind of enclosed area where any ecosystem is built, and in that ecosystem even the people, they germinated the plant seed. So now if you are sending this terrarium to the another planet, okay, so any which way it is going to contaminate the planet, but these people, they did not receive any kind of any backlash from the scientific community. It means they were okay with this thing, right? In contrast to this, when it was recently revealed that a researcher had surreptitiously smuggled super resilient microscopic tardigrades. So better, why to ponder so much upon these words? Simply you have to read that a researcher had smuggled tardigrades aboard the ill-fated Israeli Be'eshi lunar probe. A firestorm was unleashed within the space community. It means when the Israeli, they sent something called tardigrades to the for the lunar probe, so obviously it received a lot of backlash from the scientific community. तो जब चाइनीज वहां पर गए, when they sent the terrarium, they did not face any backlash from the scientific community because it was quite okay for them. But the Israeli, when they sent the tardigrades over there, so obviously it received a lot of backlashes and the reactions from the people. So we can say that these two countries, they received different kind of reactions from different community. Okay. And in that paragraph, author also told us that why we are cutting our own legs, okay, why we are shackling our own progress. We should also go for the space exploration. So if these countries are not worrying about that thing, so why we are worrying about that thing? Because any which way, if we are not contaminating any planet, these people are contaminating it, okay. NASA's previous human exploration efforts made no serious attempt at sterility with little notice. So earlier, the priority was not the sterilization. We did not even think about that thing, okay? As the Mars expert Robin Zubrin noted in the National Review, US lunar landings did not leave the campsite cleaner than they found it. Now, in this line, author says that when the Apollo mission was there, when Apollo mission landed on moon, so obviously even there, the human beings, they left the waste over there, they left the feces over there, okay, and they even did not leave the campsites cleaner. It means even they spoiled the campsites. Apollo's bacteria infested litter included bags of feces. Now, even when people landed over there, they left the bags of feces. Feces means human waste, forcing NASA's proposed Mars exploration to do better. Scrubbing everything and hauling out all the trash would destroy NASA's human exploration budget and encroach on the agency's other directorates too. Getting future astronauts off Mars is enough of a challenge without trying to tote weeks of waste along as well. Now, here the author says that already sending people over there and bringing back them, it was very challenging, and now you are saying कि आप उनको वहां पर भेज के उनको वापस लेके आइए और साथ में ह्यूमन वेस्ट भी लेके आइए. So obviously it is going to double the cost. So already पहले like one thing was so challenging, and now you are expecting people to also bring back the human waste. A reasonable compromise is to continue on the course laid out by the US government and the National Research Council, which propose a system of zones on Mars, some for science only, some for habitation, and some for resource exploitation. Now here the author says that we should reach to a certain compromise where there should be separate zones for science, habitation only, and resource exploitation. So if separate zones are there, it is going to minimize contamination and it is going to maximize scientific exploration. Mars presents a stark choice of diverging human futures. We can turn inward, pursuing ever more limited futures while we await whichever natural or man-made disaster will eradicate our species and life on Earth. So here the author says that Earth एक ऐसा planet है जहाँ पर obviously intelligent species है, and that intelligent species is human being. All right. So if any day asteroids fall on us, so obviously it is going to kill us. So here the author is basically talking about some plan B where there should be some species, okay, human beings, and that too on the other planet. So here the author is pleading that we should make human multi-planetary. That अगर हम किसी और planet में भी जाते हैं तो we should create some biosphere over here, we should start some farming, agriculture over there, so that हर जगह वहाँ पर human species रहेंगे, okay. So author is basically saying that we need to protect the human beings, okay. Alternatively, we can choose to propel our biosphere further into the solar system, simultaneously protecting our home planet and providing a backup plan for the only life we know exists in the universe. Are the lives on Earth worth less than some hypothetical microbe lurking under Martian rocks? Now here the author is raising a hypothetical or maybe a rhetorical question that what is more important, human beings, to protect the human beings, or we are simply thinking about any fungi which is lying deep down the canyon and we are worrying about that thing. So which is more important? Obviously, if there is no life on Mars or anywhere, so we should not bother about that thing. We should bother about the species, and that to the human beings. We should think about protecting the human beings. Clear? So now as we have understood the passage, so let us go to the questions and solve them. The author mentions all of the following reasons to dismiss concern about contaminating Mars. Now, what the author says that people are bothering so much about the prevention of the contamination of the solar system, maybe Mars, but then he has certain reasons to dismiss this thing, okay. So one of the reasons is not given over there, 3 reasons are given and one is not the reason. So we have to go for the except one. The lack of evidence of living organisms on Mars makes possible contamination from earthly microbes a moot point. Now, author is saying that there is no sign of any life, okay, on Mars. And if there is no life on Mars, then what is going to contaminate? Yeah, who is going to get contaminated over there, okay? And if we send the earthly microbes over there, so conditions are so adverse, then obviously it is not going to impact anything over there, right? So this is something, yes, which is the reason, therefore it cannot be the answer. The use of similar probes on astronomical bodies like the moon have had little effect on the environment. Now here the author is saying that such probes, they have had little effect. Little effect मतलब वहाँ पर effect ही नहीं हुआ था, but ऐसा नहीं है. In one of the paragraphs, the author has said that कि when they landed on moon, तो ऑब्वियसली वहां पर ह्यूमन वेस्ट थे और उन्होंने इसको इतना क्लीन भी नहीं रखा था. इट मीन्स when obviously people were doing some exploration over there, so it had an effect but it did not impact. Okay, so yes, this cannot be the reason. So this is going to be the answer. Efforts to contain contamination of Mars are likely to be derailed as competitor countries may not follow similar restrictions. So we are having our own restrictions, okay? We do not want to go to other planet because we want to save that planet from getting contaminated. But are the other countries thinking that way? No. So the author has given us two examples of China and Israel. So obviously those people are not thinking about this thing. So obviously this is also one of the reasons in order to dismiss this thing. So this is also true. Earlier explorations have already contaminated pristine space environments. तो ऑथर ने पहले ही बोला है कि पहले भी वहां पर लोग जा चुके हैं, वहां पर उन्होंने अपना ह्यूमन वेस्ट भी वहां पर रख के आए थे, वो लेफ्ट आई मीन दे लेफ्ट द ह्यूमन वेस्ट ओवर देयर. तो ऐसा तो था नहीं कि पहले किसी ने कंटामिनेट नहीं किया था. तो इफ द पीपल अर्लियर आल्सो कंटामिनेटेड द प्लैनेट, then why are we being so fussy about that thing? In fact, we should also go for the space exploration. Okay, so again this is true. So what is going to be the answer? Answer is going to be 2, which is the except one, and this is the reason that the author has not given. The author's overall tone in the first paragraph can be described as you can see here, author has asked the tone of the first paragraph, so it is going to be a specific question and it is going to be a jackpot question even. अब tone समझ लेते हैं. Approving of the amount of money NASA spends to restrict the spread of contamination in space. Obviously, author is not approving the amount of money. On the contrary, author ने बोला था कि unnecessarily वहां पर वो उस पर बहुत ज्यादा expend कर रहे हैं पैसे को. तो that should not be the case. So obviously, author is not going to approve this thing. It is not going to be approving. Skeptical about the excessive efforts to sanitize planets where life has not yet been proven to exist. So yes, this is something author is saying, that when life is not there, then why are you being so worried? Okay, so yes, author is being skeptical regarding this thing, and author is saying कि no, you should not do this way, you should go for the space exploration. So yes, I can take second as my answer, but then I'm going to verify the rest too also. Indifferent to the elitism of a few scientists aiming to corner space exploration. Now, indifferent का meaning होता है neither this way nor that way. Okay, I am neither side. But basically here author is taking the side of space exploration and is basically disregarding the prevention of contamination of any solar system or any planet. So obviously he is not being indifferent, he is raising his voice. Okay, so yes, this cannot be the answer. Equivocal about the reasons extended by the group of scientists seeking to limit space exploration. So again, equivocal means unclear, but he is being very, very clear that people should not worry about the contamination of planet and they should always go for the Mars exploration. So he is being very clear. And what is the meaning of equivocal? Equivocal means unclear. So he is not being unclear, he is being very clear. Okay, so this cannot be the answer, therefore the answer is going to be 2, which is skeptical. Now question 3, the author is unlikely to disagree with any of the following except. Now when such type of questions are there, so I have observed that most of the students, they end up going for the wrong answer. The reason is they keep this thing into their mind that the author is unlikely to disagree, except it means they have to go for the agree one. Okay, this is how they see the question. But this is my advice to you, that whenever you come across such questions, please always keep it simple, rephrase it. How? Now you see, unlikely, disagree, both are negative, remove un and remove this. It means 3 options are there which the author is likely to agree with. Okay, except it means we have to go for the disagree. Disagree means we have to go for that answer choice which is not inconsistent with the passage. Okay, first option, the proposal for a zonal segregation of the Martian landscape into regions for different purposes. Yes, this was something which was conveyed in the last paragraph, जहाँ पर author बोल रहा था कि yes, हमें different zones बनाने चाहिए, one for science, one for human exploration. This is how he kept the things. Okay, so this is something author is going to agree with. We have to go for the disagree. That while NASA's earlier missions were not ideal in their approach to space contamination, they likely did no grave damage. So obviously, in the earlier missions, NASA's, they were not so worried about the contamination of the planet. They did not even think much about that thing. They simply did the exploration. Okay. तो बट अब वहां पर कंटेमिनेट हुआ नहीं हुआ, बट एनी विच वे डिड द एक्सप्लोरेशन, बट वहां पर उसने कोई इतना सीरियस डैमेज भी नहीं किया था. तो ऑथर इज सेइंग द सेम थिंग. ओके, तो दिस इज समथिंग ऑथर इज गोइंग टू अग्री विद. Space contamination should be minimized until the possibility of life on the astronomical body being explored is ruled out. Now here you see space contamination should be minimized. Author ये बोल रहा है कि space contamination को हमें minimize करना चाहिए, मतलब contamination को हमें कम करना चाहिए. But author ऐसा नहीं बोल रहा है. Author तो बोल रहा है कि no, you should go for the space exploration because other countries are not worrying about those things, those regulations. Then why are you worrying about that thing? Okay, so do not cut your legs and just move ahead. So this is something author is not agree with. So this is going to be my answer. The exorbitant cost of continuing to keep the space environment pristine may be unsustainable. Obviously, author isko bhi agree kar raha hai that we are incurring a lot of expense on sterilizing the environment, and this should not be the case. Okay, so yes, this is something author is going to agree with. So this is again correct. It means 1, 4 and 3 are correct and 2 is false. 2 is something author does not agree with. Last question. The contrasting reactions to the Chinese and Israeli contaminations of lunar space. Now this was something that was given in the 3rd paragraph. जहाँ पर ऑथर ने बोला था that we are bothering so much about these regulations, we do not want to go to other planet because it might get contaminated and we are stopping ourselves, we are stopping our growth. But are the other countries thinking that way? No. तो चाइनीज ने क्या वहां पर सेंड किया था? टेरारियम. और इजरायली ने टार्डिग्रेड्स. तो जब इजरायली को बहुत सारे बैकलैशेस रिसीव हुए थे और चाइनीज को बिल्कुल भी रिसीव नहीं हुए थे, तो बेसिकली दे रिसीव डिफरेंट रिएक्शंस फ्रॉम देयर communities. Okay, so now our evidence of China's reasonable approach towards space contamination. So author has not talked about this thing that China is being reasonable and we are being unreasonable. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था. Okay, it's simply that Chinese did the exploration. Okay, but reasonable थे, unreasonable थे. Author is not talking about this thing, and we cannot invert this thing even. Okay, so this cannot be the answer. Are valid as the contamination of the rural environment from animal sources is far greater than from plants. Animal sources, it is out of the scope. Nowhere in the passage they have mentioned this thing, animal sources. So yes, this is out of scope. This cannot be my answer. Reveal global biases prevalent in attitudes towards different countries. Here the author has not talked about the global biases which were prevalent over there. Of course not. This is not the answer again. Now, indicate that national scientists may have different sensitivities to issues of biosphere protection. Yes, this was given in the 3rd paragraph. Just now only I explained you that Israelis and the Chinese, they receive different reactions from their scientific community. So yes, this is the right answer. So I'm done with today's RC, and the CAT 24 slot 3 series is over. I will come back with CAT 23 slot 1 series very soon. Till then stay tuned, and if you are learning something from our videos, then please do like, comment, subscribe our channel and stay connected.